Hi boys and girls, it's Miss Kelly, and I wanted to take a look at our Netherlands suitcase with you. So I have our suitcase here and there's the flag. I think this would be a really easy flag for you to make at home. You just need two colors, red and blue, and white should already be on your paper. If you have a piece of white paper, you can make the flag very easily, the flag for the Netherlands. Let's see what we have inside the suitcase. Open it up. Oh, I see another tulip. Here it is. This tulip is the color pink. And remember, we learned that they grow tulips in every color of the rainbow in the Netherlands. And people will order tulip bulbs. The bulb, the plant that you would put in the ground so that it would grow into a tulip flower. People order the bulbs, and the Netherlands will send them to you from all over the country. People will place their orders and get tulip bulbs from the Netherlands. And I have something else in here I wanted to show you today. I have a book called Donald and the Big Cheese. And if you look on that book, you'll see some things that we have learned about the Netherlands. You'll see the windmill that they use to pump the water off. They also use windmills to grind up the flour and their grain. You'll see a canal. It looks like Donald has fallen into some water. I see some wooden shoes. They're wearing wooden shoes. So we're going to take a look at this book. Snap up our suitcase and put it down. Bring you closer over so you can see some of our pictures here. Oh, and also we'll add our pink tulip to the other tulips that we have. Let's see what else we have over here. We have our pink tulip now, and we have our purple tulip, and we have our yellow tulip, and we have a white tulip. We have a lot of colors for our tulips. And let's get ready for our book. Samantha is already out waiting for our story time. We have some pictures here of our Dutch boy and girl. If you are from the Netherlands, you are called Dutch. Dutch. Dutch people, like we are called Americans. If we are from America, they are from the Netherlands. They are called Dutch. And there's the little piece of land, what it looks like on our map. They're carrying the cheese, their yummy cheese that they make in the Netherlands from those cows that drink the best, the cows that eat the juiciest grass and make the best milk. And then here's some tulip fields, a windmill, a canal, a waterway right by those beautiful tulips. And we have some more pictures down here. And look at these pictures of the windmill, the dikes, the dirt walls, their concrete walls, rock walls, and a frozen canal where the children will skate on the frozen streets in the Netherlands. They put their ice skates on or get a sled. So let's see if we see more of these things in our book that we have today. Donald and the Big Cheese. Written by, let's see who the author is. It just says Disney, Small World Library. Oh, it's from Disney. Okay. Here we go. It says Daisy Duck waited anxiously for the president of the Duckburg Cheese Factory to open the judge's envelope. She looked at all the tables filled with fancy cheese dishes. There were omelets and soufflés and pies and cakes. But the first prize to this contest is going to win something fabulous. They will win a free trip for two to the Netherlands, the place where they make more cheese than anywhere else in the world. Daisy was whispering all of this to Donald. And just then the president made his announcement. And now for the most imaginative and greatest cheese recipe of all. It is a windmill cheesecake. The winner of our contest is Daisy Duck. The crowd of cheese lovers cheered and shouted. They congratulated Daisy. Daisy, you won, you won, you won. And Donald congratulated Daisy. Daisy had won for making the best cake out of cheese. She made a cheesecake windmill cake. Very clever. So Daisy gets to take Donald to the Netherlands. She won the trip. During that long plane ride, Daisy and Donald thought about all the wonderful things they would get to see and do in the Netherlands. When they arrived in Amsterdam, the capital of the Netherlands, they were greeted by their very nice tour guide, Hans. Daisy smiled at Hans, and Hans smiled back at them. Maybe this is going to be a wonderful trip, they thought. You can see Daisy and Donald on the airplane, looking at books from the Netherlands. And then here they meet their tour guide named Hans. And they are there. See their flag? They're in the Netherlands. They made it. We shall begin our tour with a boat ride around the beautiful city of Amsterdam, Hans said. Oh, that sounds lovely, Daisy said. And as they rode through the canals, Hans showed Daisy and Donald all the sights. Donald listened to every word that Hans had to say. After the boat ride, Hans brought Daisy and Donald to a sidewalk cafe to try a favorite local snack that the people from the Netherlands like to eat. They like to eat special fish that they catch in their ocean. Fish here, and they're trying some of the fish. And here's one of the canals. The street's made out of water. They go under a bridge. If you don't have a boat, you can cross it by going over the bridge. On their way out, or on their way to one of the local museums, Hans took Daisy and Donald to a little shop where they made old-fashioned Dutch wooden shoes. The shoemaker hollows out a block of wood, Hans explained, then decorates the shoes with paint. Wooden shoes were designed to help farmers walk through their muddy, wet fields. Most people in the Netherlands don't wear them much anymore, though, now. They are really quite comfortable, though, and they're used still by some people to keep their feet dry in that wet farmland. Hans walked briskly around the shop in this showing off the wooden shoes. He showed Daisy and Donald how comfortable they were. And then Hans helped Daisy to try on a pair. Oh, I just love them, Daisy said. Donald, let's each buy a pair of these wooden shoes. Donald chose a pair that were actually too small. He couldn't quite get them on or off, but not wanting everybody else to notice his troubles, he decided he would just get them. He would just try to get them on his feet the best that he could, and he would figure out how to get them off later, but they sure were tight. You see Daisy, she got some pink wooden shoes. Hans got some brown ones, and Donald is getting stuck in these dark brown ones that are too small. And here is the shoemaker making all of the wooden shoes from blocks of wood. And they say that they're actually quite comfortable to wear. After leaving the shoe store, Hans, Daisy, and Donald walked over to the museum. And there, Hans showed them the work of the famous Dutch painter Vincent van Gogh. Oh, if you watched my video, I had a video on Vincent van Gogh, a famous artist from the Netherlands. And he painted beautiful pictures with one of his favorite color themes, yellow. Look for my video and you'll see the yellow sunflowers that Van Gogh painted. So they went to this museum and there they saw pictures from Van Gogh. Well, Donald thought, I know a little bit about these paintings. I know that Van Gogh painted a picture of his bedroom. He's right. And I showed that picture in my video too, if you look for it. A picture of Van Gogh's bedroom. And there's yellow in his bedroom too. How about going for a bicycle ride in the countryside, Hans asked Donald and Daisy. Bicycle riding is a favorite pastime in the Netherlands. Everybody loves to go bike riding here. Ooh, what a wonderful idea, Hans, Daisy exclaimed. Donald thought for a moment. Donald could ride a bicycle. He could ride a bicycle very well. He would be able to ride his bicycle with Daisy and Hans. Soon the three of them were riding through the Dutch countryside, passing field after field of brightly colored tulips. Oh, do you see the tulips at the bottom? I see windmills. Hans was a very good bicyclist. He rode without touching the handlebars, and he gracefully scooped up a bunch of tulips and gave them to Daisy. Oh, Hans, how nice of you. These are beautiful. See the tulips that he gave Daisy? Donald is trying to ride his bicycle with those tight wooden shoes on. He's having some trouble. Donald, it went flying through the air. Daisy and Hans went flying through the air too when Donald's bike ran into their bike. They all landed in a great big pile of tulips with cows just looking at them and wondering, what are these ducks doing? So Hans said, maybe we should take a break from riding these bikes for a while, my friends. Let's take a break. I see some beautiful old windmills that are still in use here in the Netherlands. Let's go visit those windmills. See the cows? They've been out there eating that juicy grass. And here's the windmill. This windmill pumps water off of the land and back to the sea, Hans explained. Without the dikes and pumps, nearly half of the Netherlands would be underwater right now. We needed these windmills and the dikes, the big walls made to keep the water off of our land. Wow, that is amazing, Daisy said. What a smart idea. Donald was trying to figure out how those blades work and spin, and he suddenly got caught on one of the blades with his jacket. Up goes Donald, going up, up, up. Oh dear, he's going up off the ground on one of the windmill blades. Those water wheels move water through the canals toward the next windmill. And then the next windmill will grind the wheat into wheat mill. Hans told Daisy all about it. Oh, yes, I see, said Daisy, watching the waterway and nodding her head. But suddenly she noticed a familiar form falling into the waterway and heading toward a water wheel. Oh my goodness, Hans, it's Donald, Daisy said, pointing to the canal. What is he doing? Oh dear, look at Donald. He got all wet. He fell in the canal, I believe. Wet and exhausted, Donald scrambled onto the land when he got out of the canal. Well, Hans went on to explain how the windmill works. He said that the windmill will grind the wheat. It will grind the wheat, and they will feed that wheat and wheat meal to the dairy cows. We have dairy cows all over our country making milk and cheese for us. And then they said, I bet all of those well-fed dairy cows are the reason why there is so much rich milk to make those delicious Gouda cheeses that everybody loves from the Netherlands. Well, you're exactly right, Hans said. That is exactly what happens. The milk cows eat the juicy grass and they make the best milk in the world. And we put it into our cheese and we put it into our chocolates. So Donald was listening and he looked at that millstone and he got a little bit too close. Now he got caught up again. His jacket got caught on one of the hooks and it's taking him up, up, up through the ceiling. Donald. Quick, Daisy said, we've got to save him. We've got to get him. Hans ran up the stairs to try to save Donald again, and Daisy ran after Hans. Hans grabbed a sack and held it up to catch Donald just before Donald was about to fall into the chute that led to the grindstones at the bottom of the mill. Oh, thank you, Donald said to Hans. My goodness, that was close. That was so close. No problem, Hans said. I'm glad I was able to save you. Well, I do think we've had enough of the windmills for a while, Hans said, and I know just the place for us to go next. There's a little Delft pottery shop not too far from here, and there we can rest our tired feet. Donald nodded his head. That sounded good to Donald. He's gone through too much. And his feet were really hurting him in those tight wooden shoes. When they finally reached the shop, Donald's feet were really hurting. While Daisy went over and looked at all the pottery, she bought a teapot, and Donald tried to pull off his wooden shoes. He gave one shoe a great big giant yank. His elbow bumped into a large, expensive pottery vase. It teetered, it tottered, and then it fell off the shelf. Before the vase hit the ground, Hans grabbed it. Oh, Hans just put his fingers to his lips and whispered, thank goodness we caught it. That would have been so expensive if it had broken. Donald thought, wow, Hans is such a great helper. He saved the day. And as they left the pottery shop, Hans announced that he had a special surprise for Donald and Daisy. He took them to the town of Gogh, famous for its delicious cheese. They arrived as Hans had planned, just in time for the cheese factory's celebration. Proudly, Hans showed Daisy and Donald where and how the cheese was made. And now it's time for the party, Hans told them both. Daisy clapped her hands in anticipation. All the spectators cheered, especially when the proud cheese workers rolled out the world's largest wheel of Gouda cheese. They had made the cheese into a great big giant wheel. But the wheel was so big that the workers couldn't hold on to that slippery wax coating that was on it, and the giant cheese wheel started to roll down the hill. Everyone ran to safety, except for Daisy, who tripped on the rough pavement when she was walking. She fell directly in the path of the giant cheese. Oh dear, Daisy. Oh no, shouted Donald as the cheese rolled toward Daisy. He could see that Hans was too far away to help Daisy. But as Donald ran to help her, he stumbled and flew into the wheel of cheese. Oh dear. Oh, Donald, you saved my life, Daisy said. Oh, it was nothing, Donald said. But before he could say anything else, Hans rushed over to them. Oh, you were so brave, Donald. How can we ever say thank you enough? Well, there is one thing you could help me with or do for me. You could help me take off my other shoe. They're too tight and they hurt so much. And so Hans helped him get those tight wooden shoes off. So they had quite a trip to the Netherlands. And these pages show us some of the things that we've been learning about. It says that in Amsterdam, a city in the Netherlands, they have more bridges than any other city in the world. 550 bridges in their city so that people can cross over the water canals. And this is a picture of Vincent van Gogh. We learned about him. He painted the sunflower picture and lots of other pictures too. One of his favorite color themes was yellow. And then about half of all the Dutch people or more have bicycles, and they ride them all over the cities instead of driving cars. And then we see that the Netherlands has millions of dairy cows that make billions of pounds of milk a year. Wow. And then one of their favorite cheeses is Gouda, and it's named after a city in the Netherlands called Gouda. And then the windmills, just like this. A long time ago, they were all used to pump the water off the land, and some of them were used to grind the wheat into flour. And we know that they grow the world's prettiest tulips right there. And klompen is the Dutch word for wooden shoes. Klompen. Today, they are mostly worn by people who work in gardens or fishermen and farmers. And then this pretty blue and white patterned pottery that Daisy likes so much is called Delft. It's named after a town in the Netherlands where they make it, Delft pottery. And I think I have some of that pottery over here. That's what my windmill from the Netherlands is made out of. It's Delft pottery. You can spin the windmill. And that's what they were looking at in that shop. Pottery made out of made like the Delft pottery. And we have the wooden shoes. And they call them klompen because they make a lot of clomping sounds. Donald's shoes were too tight. Okay, that was a fun book to read. I hope you enjoyed it. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.